everyone, welcome to another round of Chitter Chatter. Today we're going to chit chat with author Rishabh Dubey. Well, if you check his Insta, he is right now trending because of the song that he had made some time back, and he's put it on the reel, and it is trending. And how it is a song that you're gonna love, and you will understand why is he trending. But well, this Chitter Chatter is on his current book, Kridious. This is a fantasy book that will put you in a fantasy world. Do you want to know a little of the book? Well, let me tell you, it is a time where the earth does not exist. It's 4697 AD. And what happens when the earth does not exist? All about this, we're going to talk to the author Rishabh Dubey right now, right here. So let's send him a request and let's get started. And in the meantime, also, I hope you'll have been reading and you'll have started your reading challenge. And yes, today's Makar Sankranti. Yesterday was Lohri. So happy Lohri and happy Makar Sankranti to all of you. I hope you all are enjoying. On what if you came to know that there was the world filled with stars? And now let's
Oh,
ask Rishabh Dubey all about.
second. Yeah. Hey, Shweta, how are you?
Very good.
I'm
How
good
are
too. I'm
you?
good too. Really energized for this on a weekend.
And I have to tell you, firstly, congratulations, obviously, on your book, and because you've been trending
Oh,
because of
yeah.
your
Thank you so
song on
much. Thank you so
Insta.
much. Yeah,
They
that was
all
really a pleasant surprise, honestly. I did not expect it to trend so soon. But yeah, it was something which took me off guard, honestly. I was appalled, flabbergasted for the past 2 weeks. So thank you so much.
So how does it feel? Because for every
Mhm.
artist, expressionist, it's very important to get an appreciation. And it's not about 1 million, but it's about the love of those 1 million who love the song, who have back to you, and the people who read your book. So as an expressionist, how does it feel?
I don't know, like there are very, very diverse array of feelings, honestly, because I wrote this song around 14 years back. And back then there was just Facebook, so I used to record it on my guitar and post videos as well. I think every year of my life for the past 14 years, I have posted some version of this song. But this was finally when I got to a studio, recorded it, had a composer compose music for it along. I'm an amateur guitarist, so I do not know how to create professional music. But yes, I worked with that person, and that person created some very good melodies as well as beats. And this was finally the moment for me when I could release this song. And yes, the reaction, the acceptance, the how the reception overall was very, very gratifying for me. I did not expect that. But yes, every year I have posted this song, and at least someone from my followers, my friends list, or someone from my timeline back in Facebook days, over the wall, it was used to be called. It used to be called back then. So someone, at least from my entire group, my entire list, used to come back and tell me that it's a good song, and they used to read the lyrics and all. So yeah, this time, of course, the reception was like too great. It was very high. I reached a crescendo, and I've never reached this kind of a reach. So yeah, it was good.
Back to your current book. So tell us all about this. It's a fantasy world where the earth does not exist. And so first, before I go on the next one, tell us a little about the book to all of
Yeah,
you
so
out here.
Cricos is kind of a post-apocalyptic, yes, yet utopian book. So generally, these two concepts don't mingle very well. Post-apocalyptic in the sense that the universe as we know it doesn't exist. It is in a different form. And utopian that in the sense that everything in that world is perfect, right? Every technology, every medical, technological, scientific feat which you can imagine, that has been achieved, that has been reached. So nothing more can be done in the world, in the universe, in fact. So there we're talking on a higher scale, on a universe scale, right? So what has happened is that the Earth, the solar system, I'll give a very small brief, not to give away a lot of spoilers, but the Earth and the solar system, everything has been used as raw material to create kind of a celestial body, a locomotive body with locomotive capabilities. It's called Cricos, and the vertical horizon is actually, before movies like Interstellar and Elysium came out, I imagined actually a planet, a celestial body with a vertical horizon, a horizon which rises upwards, right? When you see a ship come over the horizon on Earth, you see the sails come first, and mast come first, right? So here, what is happening is that the horizon is rising upwards, so you'll see the ship coming down like this. So it's that kind of a celestial body which I imagined back then, and then of course Elysium came out. So corollary to my thought, I was correlating to it, and then of course Interstellar came out, and my thought was, you know, pushed aside. But yeah, still I kept going with it. I published this book, and this is not the primary thought of the book. The primary thought of the book is that we have reached perfection, but still technological, medical, scientific perfection, any kind of perfection, exploratory perfection, right? It doesn't ward away, it doesn't push away the internal tendencies of human beings for conflicts, for aggression, for still being in pursuit. Because at the end of the day, we all are anthropocentric in the sense that human beings firstly consider Earth to be the center of the universe. That's the simple reason that we can look to the same distance in all directions, so we are the center, right? And that metaphorically also, you know, materializes that we are the center of the universe for us, and everything is around us. We are the most important beings for us in the universe, and we have some purpose of existence, be it religion, be it any kind of belief or culture. We have always found ourselves at the center of it all, at the centroid, in fact. So we have always believed that we are here for a reason. God or any being, any supernatural being who created us, they created us for a reason, and we are here to serve a purpose. Now, our entire life goes into finding that purpose, right? Be it individually, singularly, or as a whole, as a species. And that's where the struggle begins. Even so, I've actually reflected on a concept that even though we reach that perfection, the highest level, the peak of perfection which we can as a species, as anything which can exist, we'll still be in a pursuit to get that answer, because nothing, no perfection can answer that for us. Because honestly, there's no such concept of being the center of everything. The universe is too large, right? But still, we are trying every day to appease ourselves and to flatter ourselves by saying that we are the reason for the universe to exist, and since we can observe it, I think we are the purpose for it. So Krikos is not the answer or anything for it, but yes, Krikos just touches on that concept. Krikos actually means a ring. What goes around comes around, and human beings are just going through the universe, and the conflict actually begins at the point when they encounter another extraterrestrial organism. So their entire belief system of them being the only intelligent sentient being across the universe is displaced. Now, of course, extraterrestrial encounters have been touched upon by a lot of great science fiction authors and science fiction movie makers, filmmakers, and I do not want to compete with that. I just wanted my separate perspective for my book. The extraterrestrial contact is a very important part of the book, not the entire story, but yes, that gives a. I touch upon a new sentiment and emotion that when we encounter such beings and organisms, what will be the internal feeling? We'll feel kind of an inferiority complex, or maybe just a fear, a kind of a paranoia that we are being displaced as sentient beings of the universe, right? So that emotion, I believe, was never touched upon. So I try to explore on that, because science fiction is always about touching on new concepts, right? Or exploring the extrapolation of the old. So I've done both in this book, and a lot of course, I've not created the lightsaber. I've tried to create other science fiction instruments of my own, but the technology and the elements which I tried to create, I kept them as new, as unique as possible. And I don't think a lot of them were ever touched upon before. Of course, some inspirations I did take as any other creator, but yes, most of the things I tried to make unique.
So when was the day that you decided that you wanted to create this story and you started the whole
It's a
thing?
very funny story. As you must have guessed, I'm not a very short storyteller. I generally dive deep into the details of the story, but yes, I'll try to keep this brief. Uh, so I was around 13, 14 years old. I used to create these characters in my head, right? I was just like any other kid of my generation, watching Power Rangers, watching Dragon Ball Z, and I used to love fiction. And at the same time, I used to read books. I used to read a lot of books, specifically science fiction books, because they gave me a sense of relief. I was a loner, honestly, as a child, and I was heavily introverted, unlike now. I have trained myself to be more extroverted throughout the years, trying to socialize more and understanding people. Because I think it's important for as a writer to talk to people as much as possible. So I try to do that, adapt to that those habits as well. But when I was 13, 14 years old, I was big social pariah in my school. I used to sit alone, imagine characters, and just create. I did not even know they were called character sketches or persona sketches back then. I used to write about characters. This is this character, and he, she, they are doing this, that, and they have these kinds of abilities. And my parents, of course, used to love. My father is also a writer, not much of a science fiction writer or a fantasy writer, but yes, he is a kind of a literary fiction writer, or we can say more on the poetic side of it, right? More on the dramatic side of it. But I wanted to write science fiction. I did not even know such a word exists. I had seen Star Wars. I'd seen all the movies out there. I had read all the books by Isaac Asimov, Douglas Adams, but I did not know it's essentially called science fiction because there was no Amazon to tell you the genres, the categories of books, right? So back then we used to go to bookstores and we used to buy until the date Crossword came out. They used to categorize in these bookshelves. Right? This is science fiction. Oh, science fiction. I used to run away from that because I was not a very academic student. I used to score decently, but yes, not very academic. So I used to see science written. I was like, run away from you. But then people told me that is the exact genre that you are writing these characters about. Actually, my dad told me that. And I used to tell those stories to my friends, even my English professors, my teachers, right, in school. Everybody was like, you're wasting time and what are you doing? Study. If you have to write essays on topics which I've given you for homework. And my friends used to be like, oh, let's go and play something. Or I used to play, of course, and but that was also important, honestly, as a kid. But my classmates used to be like that. What are you doing? No, he'll again begin his boring talks. Yeah, instead of just sharing those things with others verbally, because back then there were no audiobooks or the verbal expression was not never monetized till I think 2011, 12 when Audible and all came out. So back then I chose to dive into the written expression, a written word, and I expressed those entire complete thoughts as a rough draft over over pages of papyrus as I've written in Kridious, right? So I used to write those things down and the story and the rough draft. And then one fine day I realized that I have actually written 7,000, 8,000 words. And I should actually convert this into a digital format because my handwriting was pathetic. It was not legible to me. So while converting it into a digital format on Microsoft Word, I ended up writing kind of a chapter, and I realized that this can be made into something. I was just 14 years old when I started writing Kridious officially. The name was given by one of my very good friends, and he said that it should be called Kridious because Kridious in Latin means a ring. And the concept which I was touching upon was a ring, was a circle, a full circle of the universe. And that's how Kridious came to be. I completed that book at the age of 16. I officially published it in 2020 with Leeds, 2021 actually, with Leeds Start Publishing. And yeah, 2010 to 2021, I think 11 years it took me to officially publish it. Even though I'd completed the book long back, it went through a lot of iterations of change. And of course, I matured as a writer. I wrote 3 more books between writing Kridious and publishing it. It was supposed to be my first, but it became my fourth. So that's how Kridious came to be, and science fiction became a genre which I got most attached to, and I started loving. Yeah, that's it. I think that's the shorter format of it, the shorter version of it. So
On this brief answer, I want to ask you, usually, you have your first book and then you
Mhm.
have the other books, and one changes because every time you've put a story out there, you have changed as a person. We anyways change
Yeah,
on
yeah,
a daily
definitely,
basis
definitely.
because of the learnings that we have. Writing something, there are a lot of changes that happen within you because there's so much introspection that's going on. You have written some things out there. You have heard, reviews on something you've written. Now, your first book that was supposed to be out is not the first one. It was much later. You had other books that came. So, how do you feel as a writer when you see or read Kridious and then you have your other books?
Kridious is honestly the most mature of my books, even though it was written first. And I don't know, there was that purity. I think I'm not saying I'm impure now, but I have a very dynamic perspective now. I think it's for the better. Now I write things. with a I'll say with a bigger background of opinions and perspectives, and having met so many people, having seen some. I'm not saying I'm very old also, but yeah, it's good that if I'm perceived as old, I think people when they perceive a higher number as an age for a writer, they definitely buy their book. So yes, guys, I'm in my late 60s. I look this young, so definitely buy my books.
It's you said the higher number in age, suddenly you are perceived as,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
this person is the
yeah.
perfect interviewer, this person is like right. No, even other professions like lawyer and all of that. So guys, even I have white hair, okay? So
Yeah,
I
yeah, we are old
perceive
millennials.
as
We are old people killing it. So just buy it, and high number in age reminds me. My personal idol is Shah Rukh Khan. So I definitely tell people like it is actually it doesn't go. It doesn't mix well, right? When people say that I'm a science fiction writer, and of course a Bollywood celebrity, the biggest the stars of Bollywood is my idol, and yes, I really see. I look at Shah Rukh Khan and I say, in my 50s, I want to be like that, be as cool as that. And uh,
I agree because when I hear
exactly,
his
exactly the
talks,
talks.
there is so much
When I say this phrase, right, that
hate that
yeah, please go ahead, please go ahead. You were saying. So I was saying that
the
when people say that
phrase
we want to be like Shah Rukh Khan, generally people are talking about the aesthetics of it, the way he looks and all. But of course, that is there. But that aside, the way he speaks, what he ends up conveying in his public addresses, in his speeches, and I think that young panache that he has, right? That he's up with the youth. I think he's very current every year, and I'm not saying technically. I don't know what kind of devices he uses or knows or anything, but his terminologies, his words, and the way he connects with every generation equally. Like I want to be like that. That is, I think, youthfulness, eternal youth for me. And I don't think anyone before him has done it. Anyone after him can do it. So I really idolize him.
I totally second that. It's like, you're trolling something. So since we're talking about Shah Rukh and being a book lover, I've always loved books and I've loved
Mhm.
all the genres. How you would make science fiction. I'm not much of a storyteller. Like, I mean, a storyteller to an extent where I'm just talking to my friends or whatever. But I've been a avid reader. And I remember Shah Rukh Khan's book had come out,
Mhm.
Still Reading Khan. It was a huge coffee table book and it was for more than 3 grand back then. Like I was in school and it was for 3,000 and coming from like for my grandparents anyways, it was like itne kitabein padh ke karne kya wali hai because my father was though. So anyways, they would be shocked because every time I had a book in my hand and I would love to go and you didn't have much bookstores. I had this library and this one bookstore. And I remember it was around Diwali, Rakhi milti hai. Where I had my cousins and all going and getting rings and, doing dresses and all. I went to the store and got that huge fat table book of Still Reading Khan.
Made that's made. You are a storyteller. You're telling a wonderful story. I believe the way you're telling it. Yeah, please continue. Please continue.
Shah Rukh, and I went back to that moment that how he's always actually his stories, his the way he addresses, he just
Yeah.
motivates you. Even back then, now it's like he actually puts you back. He's like more of a motivator. I will not just call him an
Yep. Yep.
actor. Like be it what you are in, or whether you're a doctor, whatever, he can address everyone at one go. It's not like okay, this is specifically for the youth or this is specifically for the ones who've aged.
Yep. 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 Totally. Totally.
Since back to us, let's
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
back to us.
Yeah. I think SRK is an evergreen topic. It can seep into any kind of conversation, right? About anything. It is still just as relevant. So I always touch base upon the topic of SRK, whatever I'm talking about. So yeah. So I think you had asked about
But
Kridious and how do I feel when I read it right now. So when I open this book, sometimes some pages seem like that. Did I write this? When the hell did I write this? This is so good at times, and sometimes, yeah, definitely. As a writer, I would read something and I'd be like, If I'd written it right now, it will be different. This part of it would be different. Maybe there'll be when I had written this, I was a young 13, 14-year old, right? And as a kid, you generally have company in your same gender. So I knew more about I'll say boys than I did about girls. So yes, there were more male characters in this than female characters. So that's something I would change now, because now definitely I know a lot about the other genders, and there'll be, I think. Right now, I can touch base upon gender fluid characters, transgender characters, and I think I can give them equal spotlight. And even I think all kinds of genres should include because not just genders, everything. I think the diverse array of human beings, the diversity of human beings which is out there. So this is one learning which I have in the past few years. I think my other books do reflect upon such subjects, but yeah, it's still pure, I'll say, from my holistic opinion back when I was 13 and 14. But yes, my learnings will definitely go into the sequel, which is going to come out. So, uh,
And that's what everyone is asking. When can they expect your next book?
yeah, I have two more books coming out next month, but they are sequels to two of my other books. The sequel to Krykos, it's called Airkos, Aerekos, and it's called Airkos: The Origin. It's kind of a myth fiction. So there's a whole new mythology, whole new religion, in fact, in this book. I created a religion taking the more of the demerits of all religions across the world. I was an agnostic. I'm more of a spiritual person. I'll not say in the very typical sense of the word spirituality as it's thrown around. I have been very spiritual throughout my life, but I'm more on I incline on the agnostic side. I don't like diving into the topic of religion unless I have to write about it, right? Like why discuss things unless you can earn money out of it? So, so that's my only agenda in life. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, when I'm writing that air post, right, it's exploring that mythology and those mythological myth characters and those gods and demigods, which I've talked about in Krykos. I think the people of that era, whom they pray to, which religion they follow, which cult they follow. So I'm just exploring those ideas along with a little bit of hint about where the story will go ahead in the future. They're going to be six parts overall to Krykos, Krykos, Airkos, Alzoro, Terminus, Zormor, Zormus. So these are the six books. So it is this. It is the cycle of the universe. So cycle of the universe actually. So Krykos is the beginning, and then Airkos is the origin, and then Alzoro is the exile, and Terminus is the end, and Zormor is the change, and Zormus is the beginning after the change. So like the tagline of Krykos is in ancient Latin. It's called Itianum triumphos finem mutatio. It actually means that like stillness triumphs for the end is a change. Stillness as in eternal stillness. If it's not something I believe in. Definitely, as a writer, you have to explore ideas which you don't essentially believe in. For example, if tomorrow I have to create a story about like a chauvinistic character, right, or a story about like a psychopath, a sociopath, right? So definitely those those characteristics are not coming from me. I have to create those characters virtually. So yeah, this motto also, Eternum Triumphos Finem Mutatio, comes from an idea of mine that there can be a faith, or I'll not say faith, there's a sect in the future which is against science and innovation itself. Because science and innovation has taken over the world, has roboticized the world, has made the world into kind of feelingless, emotionless beings. And there's a sect, a culture which starts revolting and rebelling against that science, and they call it the end of the change. That we're going to end and the entire change, the evolution, the natural evolution which you're obstructing with your scientific inventions and discoveries. So that faith comes in. It's called Stilites in the book. They are kind of in the gray area of villains, and I'll not say more. So yeah, they're like that. And in Aircos, I will definitely explore what are the Stilites, what are the other like other kinds of religions and faiths in that era, and why do they exist then, and what are the inspirations behind those gods? Like who in the past do they connect? Whom in the past do they connect with? Those gods, the gods of today. Like how do they those figurines? How do they connect to the people of today? So th those things I'll be reflecting upon in the sequel. And then of course the story from Kridious continues in the upcoming books. And of course at the end of it, Zormus. So it all ends, but still it's a beginning. So
Yeah, there's a long way to go. And here we have Taki Raza Jafri. It's great poet producing. Wow, great planning and structure. So true. An author is not all the characters that one writes. Women culture and many more are sending lots of love, Rishabh, sir, to you. And Kridious is too good. We have had thumbs ups and hearts and all of it. So you were writing this, you were like a kid. And as a child, we are very
yeah.
free mentally. We have a lot of imagination going on. Do not like actually there are no hang-ups. That's why today we keep saying that let the inner child be alive, because you can live in your bubbles. You create these amazing fantasy stories and you believe in them. It's not just creating it, you actually believe that this is
Mhm.
true, this exists, the dreamland is true, and all. So writing a fantasy, obviously back then there are no hang-ups. Like I'm sure when as you grow older, you tend to be like, would somebody believe this, would any of this come true? So now that you have to write the parts, obviously you've matured since then. So does your inner child still take the liberty and be like, no, this is what it is? Or the older Rishabh tends to like hold back the child Rishabh who's creating this
Yeah,
fantasy?
so honestly, I'm still a child. As much more my voice has matured, as much more my posts on Instagram. Some of them are definitely childish, but yes. Otherwise, the general perception is that I'm a very conserved, reserved fellow, and I don't mix a lot with people, and there is a tinge of maturity. People generally tell me you're very mature and all. You don't. I'm saying that just because I'm not talking to you doesn't mean I'm not a child anymore. And I really love the fact that I don't even go into the psychological maturity, that kind of concept. It's very relative. It's subjective to personalities and people, their experiences, their life, the entire set they're living with. People, environment and everything. So I don't, and these circumstances. So that is something I don't touch upon. But yes, I believe that overall the childishness within us, and I'm using the word childishness in a positive, in a euphemistic way, and we should never let go of it, because we are, at the end of the day, we can only be explorers if we keep that alive. Maturity teaches us cautiousness, and I think while writing and exploring, definitely cautiousness is something you have to do away with. As when you're going on treks, right, you are definitely cautious. But if you're over cautious, if you're over mature, if I may say so, then definitely you'll not even take this first step. You'll be like, oh, this is dangerous, I'll not go. People who are climbing Mount Everest, there are a lot of people who say, why climb Mount Everest? It's very difficult, it's dangerous. The statistics say these many people die, it's so dangerous. But then there are people who are passionate about it, who want to do it. And I think those people in a positive way have that childish, pursuit, that childish, relentless seeking alive within them. So yes, when I'm writing the next part, I'll definitely supercharge myself. I've actually written 75% of it. It was all supercharged. I generally do. I keep a thermos beside me with a lot of black coffee. When I was 13, I was not allowed black coffee, so I used to have, you know, coffee with a lot of sugar. So the sugar did the trick for me when I was in my teens. But now definitely I've cut down on sugar, so I take a lot of coffee. I take around 6, 7 cups of coffee. I'll not suggest that. Please do not try at home. So to all the viewers, it has been done by professionals, performed by professionals. So I take a lot of coffee, and I just keep drinking it. It keeps me energized. Generally, right at the night time when there's no one to observe my childishness and judge me. But sometimes I do these maniacal things. I stand on the bed. I imagine things. I create characters. I imagine, a kind of a conquest which is going on, like war in the space. Because my current idea, when the science fiction writers and fantasy writers of 1960s, 50s were writing those stories, there was not a lot of visual influence on them, right? Right now, having seen Star Wars, Star Trek, Interstellar, Gravity, so many different science fiction movies, there's a lot of visual influence. So when I'm imagining scenes, I'm kind of basing it off of the scenes which I've already seen. So trying to shed that, trying to isolate away from that is very difficult, but it's not impossible. So generally what I do is I try to, isolate my thoughts, put them inside kind of a bubble, and I think within that, and that makes me more, that makes me move, that makes me reach out for things physically as well, and things which are not actually material. And yeah, that's how I create stories. And I definitely, I would love to create stories like that, taking inspiration from Shah Rukh Khan. Still, the yes boss Shah Rukh Khan I see today in many moments. So I'll take that inspiration from him and try to be the same. But if I change, still that's life, entropy.
About Shah Rukh Khan, here's somebody's questioning. Are you going to be writing a rom-com anytime soon?
Yeah, so I do like writing romantic stories, like isolated singularly, and I like writing comedies. I've never mixed the two genres. It's honestly very difficult to write rom-coms, and it's difficult to write all genres, but one genre at a time. When you start exploring and start learning how to write, uh, generally what happens is that even in the year when I'm writing, so I wrote a myth fiction called Dev, inspired by the Holy Ramayana. I wrote that book, and it's a myth science fiction. When I was writing that book, literally the poetic side of me was taken away, and I had to shed a lot of my inner skills, if I may say so, inner affinities and all. And I could only stick to that genre. So I will definitely choose a year in the future when I'll be dedicated to rom-com. I'll create good characters. Want them to be fresh characters, and yeah, I will create a wonderful story which you'll laugh on and love also. And rom-com is also something I love watching on the OTT, and it's one of my guilty pleasures. I'm saying guilty pleasures because men, the perception around is men are supposed to be manly. They don't watch such things and all, but I don't believe in that shit.
Rom is fun to watch, no
I
matter
watch
how
everything.
much
I
you
watch
enjoy
everything.
watching
I
rom-com.
watch everything, and I'm sorry for calling it a guilty pleasure. It's not. I'm not guilty for it. So I love watching rom-coms. So I love watching all kinds of stories. And reading, I've read very less of rom-com because since my childhood, I was a deep science fiction reader, dedicated science fiction reader. So I have not read a lot of rom-coms, but yeah, writing them, I will try not to read before writing them because then I'll be way too inspired. But yes, I'll definitely explore that genre as well.
So on this note, wishing you like super, super best wishes for all your upcoming books. Looking forward to collaborating on all of them and reading all of them, from science fiction to the entire series of Kridious, and also, the rom-com, which happens at some point,
Yeah,
that all of them go adaptation. So super best wishes for all of it. And before we end the chat, let's have a selfie
sure,
moment
sure,
with
sure.
your
You want
book.
me to wear specs to look a little nerdy?
Got a pair of specs too to
Yeah,
look like a nerdy. So equally
yeah. People
nerdy.
otherwise, they don't take you seriously. I'm just kidding.
Because there was a time when in college I used to
Mhm.
write for Bombay Times,
Oh, amazing.
JNE and HTM. Back then, I used to wear specs specifically so that I look a little like
Perceptions
serious.
are a big deal in the industry, and as I said, age, right? Age. I couldn't publish Krikos for so many years because of my age. A lot of publishers rejected me because I was way too young, and I don't complain about it because I got the perfect fit as a publisher. But yes, perception is a big deal in the industry, so we cannot change it. We cannot
Totally.
say do anything about it. We have to go with it, the norms.
Happy?
Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah. Let's go, let's go.
And then we've had a
Awesome.
selfie moment. So thank you, Rishabh, for early morning on a Saturday, and wishing you best wishes for all your books, for all of them to get adapted, so that the people who are still not readers do not miss on the great stories and they watch it, because I am sure the way you write, when these are going to be adapted, they're going to be fun to watch on big screen. So best wishes, and looking forward to many, many, many more of your writing, dancing, stand-up comedy, all of it. up together. So keep entertaining us. And
Thank you
for
so
being
much. And thank you for chatting with me and having me on this wonderful episode, if I may call it today. On a Saturday morning, I love Saturday mornings. Not Sunday morning. I'm not a Sunday morning person, but Saturday mornings I love. So, yeah, thank you for having me. And it was really lovely chatting with you. So, thank you.
like, happy weekend and happy
Yeah,
Makar
same to you.
Sankranti.
Same to
All
you.
the
Same
best
to
out there.
everybody. Everybody have a good, I think, good festivities and a great, I think, weekend. So celebrate well and enjoy. And buy my book. Yeah,
Buy the
yeah,
other
there
books
are a
also
lot
that
of
I
them, and
chat
we'll be
about.
covering. I think, Shweta, we can cover those books later.
Elaborate on them too. So guys, do buy this book, read, review, and do tell them what you liked about it because you know. Heard that in case you haven't, it's gonna be online on IGTV, so you can tag your friends, go through the whole chat in case you missed. Go online right now, get the book, and do let them know what you liked, which was your favorite character. And I'm also gonna put the reviews really soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
So I'm going 9 and 5 right now because if I keep hold them back, they're gonna take longer. So all the best and then